Hey YouTube, wanted to put together a quick little video showing my garage setup and some of the more common tools that I use most often for my car and my Jeep for that matter. So here's my garage. It's not a huge garage, it's not elaborate like some guys' garages that have lifts and all those fancy things, but it's pretty deep, so that's really cool. I have a lot of room in front of my car here, hopefully you can kind of see that. And my Jeep as well. It's got all my normal stuff on the left side here: lawnmower, snowblower, shovels, those kind of things, ladders on the left side. If any of that falls, I don't care, it's by my Jeep. That's why it's all over there. Of course, by the car, gotta have the Corvette signage and posters and all of those things, but for the most part I don't have anything hanging or anything heavy on the walls that could fall off and do some damage. So let's walk around over here, start left to right. I'll just back up here and do a little quick pan from the back side of the garage. Obviously got the big poster there. It is the only sports car that matters. It's true. So got the car and the Jeep again. Again, all that stuff on the right side. Toolboxes and ramps in the middle, and kind of a shelf and little storage area on the left side here for miscellaneous things that we'll go through quick. So first of all, over here, got the typical liquid stuff, waste oil containers, oil filter containers. Got a little Motive power bleeder here for bleeding brakes, and bottles to catch it and all those kind of things. Little shelf for my waxing materials and polishing pads, those kind of things. Little pad for the fender when you're working on the car. Got a nice little Makita air compressor and a good hose. I wish I had a bigger compressor, but I don't have a lot of air tools, if any, really. So I don't need it for that. It's just nice when you're filling up tires and such, airing up and down. It'd be nice to have a little bit more capacity, but it's lightweight, can take it around, travel with it, so it's kind of nice to have it nice and compact. Got a really good tire pressure gauge, this Jayco brand. It has a lock on it where it can show the pressure and it stays there until you're done reading it. So that wasn't cheap, but obviously you need a good tire pressure gauge. It's hard to see in here, but I got a Master Blaster blower. I bought this a while ago, especially for my old car, before I discovered waterless washes and sprays. Drying the car was always a pain, and I didn't like using towels and stuff and always having to touch the car all over, and you never get all the water off anyways when you're using towels out of the crooks and crannies. So got this Master Blaster. That wasn't cheap either. I think it was $400. But it's 8 horsepower. You can switch it between 4 and 8 horsepower modes. Super powerful. That thing can blast water out of every place you can see and that you can't see on cars, motorcycles. It's actually designed for motorcycles, but it works great on cars. I don't use it too much anymore because I use waterless wash systems now. But it's still nice to have around. I can blow the garage out with it and use it on my Jeep once in a while. So it's a good investment. Down the bottom shelf here, of course, I got my jacks. I got the low profile Harbor Freight Special, the 2-ton low profile for the car, and a Roush larger one that can raise the Jeep up in a couple pumps. So that's mostly for the Jeep, but I've used both on the car too when I've needed to get it up in the air quick. Got the Race Ramps wheel chocks for safety, of course, and then the jack stands. The ones in the back are rated pretty heavy for the Jeep, and then even these silver ones in the front here I think are at least 3 or 4 ton each, and a bottle jack and some jacking pucks. Typical oil container. Gotta have a big one, obviously, for cars. You guys with the the newer Z06s, I only have 8 quarts in my 06, but you guys with the newer ones with the 10.5 quarts, you guys must have ginormous containers. I think this might hold 10, but when you even get 8 in there, you gotta be careful with that, not making a mess, moving it around. And then my jacking boards, I talked about this in another video, in my oil change video, to get under the cross members of the car. So that's that section. Moving over here, this is kind of my catch-all closet, I guess I'll call it. Keep my Mobil 1 containers that I still have stuff left in it for the lawnmower. I use Mobil 1 in everything. Some people think that's weird, but I use it in lawnmowers and everything, especially being in Wisconsin. In colder climates, better to have the better flowing oil. On the top here on the left, fuel cleaner, of course. Use that probably 2 or 3 times a summer during driving season, just to make sure to keep fuel system clean. A lot of the usual stuff for Corvettes, brake fluid for that, and clutch fluid as well. Obviously, you can use the same thing in clutch fluid. Once I go through this press stone, I'll probably start using this leftover modal as my clutch fluid. I got a little syringe to do the Ranger method and flush the clutch fluid, but I also just got this Mighty Vac big syringe, which is going to be really nice because it holds a lot more and it's supposed to work a lot better. Just some WD-40 and those kind of things, the usual stuff. A whole mess of funnels and tubes and pumps and those kind of things. Everybody's got those too. Standard stuff. Coming over to one of my tool chests here. I moved a lot of this stuff to this newer tool chest that I bought last year, but I still have some things in here too to talk about. Of course, you got multimeter. Use that a few times. Check out things with electrical systems, a bunch of fuses, variety pack. Good to keep some of those in the car too, just in case you blow when you need one. Just random gloves and stuff. I use that mostly for working on the car, oil changes, suspension stuff, cleaning wheels, getting them off, all that kind of stuff. Just typical home stuff. Wire strippers. I got this GM specific crimper. I think I used that on the injector wires connectors one time. I had to fix one in the car. Hammers, the BAH, the big ass hammer, tape, scissors, all those kind of things. This is my grinding and Dremel collection of things. I had to use this on the car once to grind down the alternator bracket for some valve covers. Nice to have a Dremel. Everybody needs one of those. This is just some clamps. I actually have a rivet tool. Used that on my old Corvette when I put a Callaway Honker air intake on it. Haven't used it since, but never know when you might need that. This bottom drawer, I got a bunch of tubing. This is that hard nylon tubing that GM uses. It's actually a little softer than what GM uses, but I was rerouting some PCV lines earlier on this summer on my Z06 and have some left over. Good to keep some extras of that. Just some other tools here for vacuum lines, some blades for decals and smoothing and all that kind of stuff. Kind of typical again. Moisture meter, that must be for when I did the deck at my old house. That's about it in that drawer. I do also have this electronic digital caliper. It's kind of a generic one that I bought on Amazon. The reason I got that was for checking the brake disc thickness. My discs are still pretty good, but eventually, once you start wearing them out, especially if you do some road course and track days, those will start wearing out pretty quickly. And that's nice to have, to be able to check it really quick and see where you're at if you need to buy new ones. Moving over here a little bit more, wash bucket stuff, not much to talk about there. I got my ramps. I talked a little bit about these in my oil change video too. These are all Race Ramp brand. Again, these weren't cheap. I don't really buy cheap tools. You know what they say, you get what you pay for, and the best investment for tools is the ones that'll last. Race Ramps definitely fit that bill. These are track jacks, these guys. They're just to get the car up really quickly, just a couple inches, just for clearance for larger jacks and such. And then I got the extenders and the big front ones too. Not going to pull those out, but you can see those as well. One thing up here I didn't mention, I have this light that looks kind of basic, but it's actually pretty slick. It's LED, and you're not going to be able to see this very well in the light, but it actually has a dial as I'm turning it. Let me get back screen back on here. As I'm turning it, it gets brighter. And it's probably blown out in the video, but it gets hella bright. And it lasts a while, and it's also got lithium-ion batteries, so you can just plug it in to a micro USB, charge it back up when you're done. But it does last a long time, and it'll light up the whole engine bay, even if you don't have any other lights on. So that wasn't cheap either. That was a really good investment. I think I found that on a YouTube video. Guy was showing that off, and just had to have that. Then my newer tool chest, where I keep most of the tools, especially for the car. Top shelf, as usual, is all the sockets. First I got the 1/2 inch SAE metric, 3/8 inch, and then the 1/4 inch down here as well. I got a couple different spark plug sockets. This one's really nice. It's designed for spark plugs, obviously, but it's nice because it's got a magnetic ring on the inside, so you don't have to fumble around and get 2 hands in there and hold the spark plug in the socket. It sticks it in there really quick and easy and comes out no problem. Just standard collection of socket wrenches, a big 1/2 inch. I like these Tecton ones because the head rotates, and we all know it's kind of a pain for some projects in Corvettes where you just can't get the right angle if your wrench is a right angle or 90-degree only bend, and it's hard to find the right length of wrench to fit into those tight spaces. This gives you a little more flexibility because you can rotate the head. So I have 3 of those, a bunch of extension bars, obviously. So that's pretty much it for this guy. It's all socket wrenches and sockets. Close that up. On the left here, obviously a bunch of pliers, all shapes and sizes. Little ones, of course, for those delicate jobs. Just cheap Menards brand. That's about it for that. Right here I got kind of my specialty tools for the car and Jeep too. Just random things that I need. Kind of threw them all in one drawer here. A little battery handle. Anybody with a Z06 or battery in the back cubby hole knows how impossible it is to get out with hands, or some people use duct tape. If you use this battery wrench, it takes literally 3 seconds. Some body work, little plastic tools for getting door panels and things like that disconnected without doing any damage to the vinyl and plastics. Little laser heat gun. Got my ODB port diagnostic code reader. This is kind of a generic brand, this Ansel from Amazon, but works really well. It's got a nice interface and easy to read, and works better than some of those really cheap ones. Got some pick tools here. This is helpful when you need to get spark plug boots off of the coil packs, and those ends on the spark plug wires create a little air gap. I have a spare little spark plug wire here. Some people use that to get the spark plug out after you loosen it, but with the magnetic spark plug socket you really don't need to do that. A couple other picks here. This is a spark plug puller, but again, I really haven't had to use that, especially on the LS7. It's so easy to get to. Some heat tape, oil filter wrench, gap tools, another oil filter wrench thing, some mirrors, more gap tools, a couple tool finders, magnetic tool finders here, anti-seize, RTV, bulb grease, Loctite, all of those kind of things that we need. Just nice to have it all in one place. Whenever I know I need something specialized like that, that's the drawer I always hit to find it. Then of course the hand wrench drawer. I have been using normal wrenches for forever, really, for years. And I bought a set of these socket wrench, you know, the ones with the socketing ends on them, the ratcheting ends. And I ended up buying a set for myself as well. They were on sale for a really good price. I have Gear Wrench brand, but really any of them are nice to have. They're a lifesaver. I didn't realize how much of a difference those things make until you use them. So I would highly recommend investing in a set of those if you don't already have one. These are nice too because I have the standard length ones and then the short stubby ones as well. Feels hard to reach places. Those are all the wrenches. Kind of another wrench kind of catch-all drawer. Of course, Allen wrenches, SAE and metric again. A whole bunch of Allen wrenches actually. You can never have too many, I guess. Some hand ones here and some of these bigger ones. And then another set with these T-handles, these Huskies from Home Depot. They're nice as well to get some more torque on the ones that you need to loosen up or tighten a little bit more than others. And then some star sockets. GM likes to put all different kinds of connectors and connection types in our cars, so nice to have these guys too. Gotta have them actually. That's pretty much it. And then obviously the torque wrenches. I talked about this in a video too, oil change. I used to not have anything precision like Snap-on or CDI or anything like that. I just had typical Home Depot, Menards, Harbor Freight brand torque wrenches, and they're okay for normal everyday type of things. Checking torque probably within plus or minus 10 or 15 foot-pounds, but if you're doing anything on the cars with suspension or anything, especially when there's little torque settings like on intake manifold boats, you really want something more specialized and calibrated. I bought a couple CDIs from Amazon, one that's 10 to 100 foot-pounds. That's this guy here. And then another one that's for inch-pounds. This one is, I believe, 40 to 240 inch-pounds. And it literally goes down to, graduates down to 1 inch-pound measurements. So it's really nice to have that as well. You might not use it a lot, but when you do need one and you need to get the torque right, that's when you're going to wish you had one. And then back here, I got my bigger ones. This is one I use for the wheel lugs. This isn't a CDI or anything expensive, but it does the job. I feel like it's still pretty accurate. It goes up to 150. It works well. Then I got a really big one for brake caliper bolts and such on the Jeep. This one goes up to, I think it's 250. Yeah, 250 foot-pounds. Then a breaker bar, another breaker bar. So that's that drawer. And down here on the bottom of this tool chest, this was a cheap tool chest from Harbor Freight, but it actually works really well. I like that it has the open top, and then it has enough drawers to fit stuff into, and it's wider than my other one as well. I think that's a 24 or 26, and this is a 30 at least. But on the bottom here, I got all my car cleaning stuff. Got my no rinse wash and shine kit. Don't need any hoses or anything like that. I have a car wash video too. Check that out if you haven't yet. Some grade 0 steel wool for exhaust tips. My drying towel for a no rinse system. Some rejects. Gotta have rejects for the front end, especially if you live in areas like I do with lots of bugs up here in the north. Wax. You can see I like Adams products. I got hooked on them many years ago with my first Corvette, and I'm kind of just going through it all. I may try other things, Chemical Brothers in the future, but Adams has really done me well, so there's really not a big reason to switch. I got a little wheel cleaner brush here, California duster, of course, just to dust the car off if you haven't driven it for a while and before you wax and things like that. Then various other polishing liquids from Adams that I don't use very often. That's why they're kind of in the back there. The ones I do use very frequently are on the side here. On the side of my tool chest. Detail spray. This is an interior spray. My window cleaner. Waterless wash. And then my metal polishes for the exhaust tips. Really don't have a lot of other chrome or anything like that on the car, but I go between Flitz and Adams. I also have some semi-chrome. Really just depends on how I feel that day. They all work, and I keep the tips pretty clean frequently, so it's not like I need to use anything extra special for that. And finally, I pulled out some of my bigger tools, power tools. This is my favorite by far. It's Milwaukee M18 fuel impact wrench. They make a this is a 3/8 inch. They make a 1/2 inch one that has insane torque, especially reverse torque. I think it's 700 to 1100 foot-pounds, which is nuts. I've seen the videos on that. It's pretty nice to have that, but it's really big and heavy. And I don't really mess with crank bolts and do that kind of engine work that needs those kind of foot-pounds. So I did this 3/8 inch one. I think it goes up to 210, but it'll zip off lug nuts on wheels super fast. I've used it on suspension components, sway bar bolts, all those kind of things on the frame, and it does a really good job. And it's Milwaukee too. It's quality. It should last a long time. I got a good deal on it. I got one with, I think, 2 or 3 batteries and the charger in the box from Home Depot. So really like to have that in the collection. It's a nice piece. And finally, my polishing stuff. I did a video on this as well. Porter cable. I don't remember the model number, but the Porter cable orbital polisher. Again, Adams pads and Adams polish. I just have the correcting and the finishing. I don't do any heavy cutting. I don't have any really harsh pads or polishing liquids. I usually just do a light polish on the car once a year, usually in the spring, just to get the swirl marks and things from the previous season off the car. It does a really good job of it. I'm really happy with it so far. So that's about it. Again, got some power tools. These didn't show absolutely everything that I have, but this is mostly the stuff that I use regularly. The tool chest with most of the wrenches and the car specific things, ramps, flashlights, and other various miscellaneous things in this tool chest. Kind of the fluids, brake and clutch fluid stuff, WD-40s in here, and the compressors and the jacks, and the jack stands down here. One more look around the garage. Didn't really show these signs too closely. That's actually my old C5 Z06. Miss that car sometimes, but nice to have a new one too. Just some signage. And the big poster again. And of course the car. That's my garage. Thanks for watching, everybody.